Welcome back. The verdict in the shooting death of Jordan Edwards was guilty of murder. The sentence handed former Balch Springs police officer Roy Oliver 15 years. Oliver shot the 15-year-old unarmed African-American honor student with a rifle as Jordan and others attempted to flee a party in a retreating vehicle. The irony here is substantial. Jeff Skilling served 14 years for his crimes and didn't kill anyone. Oliver ended a promising life and could be eligible for parole in just 7 years.
He actually can see life again after 15 years, and that's not enough because Jordan can't see life again.
Okay, gang, I'm going to start with Laura Moser on this. What's your read?
I mean, I think Roy Oliver should have had a much longer sentence. However, this is still a major, major victory for people who are sick of young, unarmed black men being shot dead by cops for no reason, with no accountability. I hope that by the time Oliver is eligible for parole in 7 years, the culture around this has changed. Cops will think before they pull out their gun and shoot into a car that is pulling away from them. This little boy, a 15-year-old kid, just a little older than my son, was shot dead for attending a party. That is not okay. It is a very good sign that Roy Oliver will go to jail for his murder of this boy.
Tomaro Bell.
First off, my prayers and thoughts are with the family and the mom, because when you look for closure, sometimes it doesn't come out the way you get, but I agree with Laura, this is a damn good start. So many times they've just walked at the loss of a young, promising baby. This boy was 15. Okay, most of us on this thing, we cannot imagine that we have children in his peer group, that you lose your child when you let them go to a birthday party. Okay, that's unconscionable, and that so many times nothing happens. I do hope that, like Laura, the culture continues to change. It is disturbing that he can't get out. He's already going to appeal already. I hope he loses his appeal, but the fact that somebody got convicted on something like this is a very good start.
Steve, some people say we have the worst system except for all the others. Did the justice system work, our system in America?
You can look at one trial and say that one guy was, over convicted. You can look at the other one and say a guy was under convicted, and that's the difficulty of our system. And as Tomaro said, as Bill said, our heart breaks. I can't. Kids are not supposed to die before their parents, and it's a tragedy. I'm also not going to try and put myself in the shoes of a law enforcement officer when they have to draw their weapon. I don't know what was going through that guy's head. I can't fathom what was going through his head and why he did what he did. It was crazy. The car was absolutely pulling away, and as you talked about it a couple weeks ago, he actually had to go into his car, pull a rifle, and then shoot at a car that was backing away. I don't know what was going on in his head. It's that fight and flight mentality within the head of a law enforcement officer when they feel like their life is in danger. I don't think that he woke up that morning wanting to kill a black kid. It's a tragedy. It's just a tragedy, Greg.
Tony, you work with young people all the time. You work with Latino youth who were stopped by police. As you watch the story unfold, what were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's really heartbreaking. And again, I think we're looking at this so many levels. The first time we talked about this on the show, we were talking about how very low the percentage of cases like this are actually brought to trial or convicted. The other thing I would add is exactly when I say a young person, I'm always imagining them as articulate with a great future and not a threat to me. When we train these officers, I want to remind folks that in the court case, this fellow said he was defending his fellow officer. That same fellow officer said he did not feel a threat. And I also want to remind folks that there's a lot of cases like this. This is a major breakthrough for the conviction. The sentencing needs to be addressed. I want to remind folks too, we had the Hernandez case here in Houston where an off-duty police officer murdered someone, and we saw with our own eyes on the video what happened. It went to court, and that was a hung jury that's supposed to go to trial again. So I bring it up because there's so many levels to talk about. We haven't talked about this enough.
Okay, another important topic to talk about right now. In what has become an ugly ongoing battle with City Hall, survivors of Houston firefighters who perished in the Southwest End disaster have accused Mayor Sylvester Turner of playing politics on the backs of their departed loved ones. The city has refused to completely abandon efforts to claw back settlement money paid injured firefighters and the families of the fallen, because some of those funds will settle legal fees from attorney Ben Hall, who just happens to be a longtime political adversary of the mayor. All of this is going down as firefighters ask voters to grant them pay parity with Houston police, a measure both Turner and the police union are fighting tooth and nail. I'm going to go with Bill King and then come quickly to Tomaro. Go ahead, Bill.
So let me unpack the legality of this for just a second. When an employee is hurt on the job, the employer is obligated to pay their medical expenses. So the city had to pay these firefighters medical expenses. If the employee then can go off and sue a third party and make a recovery, and I think in this case, I believe they sued the property owner out there and got settlement, the law gives the employer the right to go in and get part of that to be reimbursed for the medical expenses that they had. Absolutely legal to do. But frequently, employers will waive that right to make sure that their employees are fully compensated. Now, I can't imagine a more compelling case for an employer to do that than in this case. Now, just because you have the legal right to do something doesn't mean that it's right to go do it. And so when this first came up, it's actually started in the Parker administration. When it first came up, Sylvester seemed to not realize it had been done, and his initial instinct was correct. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to claim it. But then apparently he found out that his old-time rival nemesis, Ben Hall, was the lawyer, and since he's got this on contingent fee, he's going to get part of the fee. And so now it's become this petty dispute over him trying to make sure Ben doesn't earn any money. This is why people are so sick of politics, and this is below the dignity of the office that Sylvester holds.
Tomaro Bell, you're probably in position to confirm what Bill King just said, at least in terms of Ben Hall. Is that a factor?
It shouldn't be. It should not be. This is not about a former rival. This is about the lives of the survivors, of families who gave their lives to protect the city of Houston. It should never be used as a political tool. Petty is not even, because it's Sunday morning, I can't say the words I'd like to use to describe this. As April has warned me before, I cannot use them here. But get real, get real. You just said, not even a month ago, I'm not going to go after them. I'm going to drop the liens, and I'm not going to pursue the liens. And now that you find out who the lawyer is, what does that have to do with you? They didn't want to lose, so they hired an attorney that they felt could effectively, who did, win. What does that have to do with you? Just like Bill said, just because it's right, it's legally right, don't mean it's right. This is morally wrong. This should not even be a conversation that we are having as these people try to still heal from these wounds. This is illogical.
Okay, I want to hear what Jess has to say on this, and then I'll go to Steve.
This is yet another verse in an incredibly horrible song of the fight between the firefighters and this mayor. And this just adds, it agitates the entire situation and adds gas to the fire. And I really do think at the end of the day that if both parties of any of the gumbo of ideas that you just threw into your intro, because you put them all in there and threw them all together, if there was any desire to really want to work this out for the benefit of Houstonians, because that is ultimately who's the beneficiary of our services, from the firefighters, services of the police, et cetera, that the adults in the room could come together and resolve these things. And to me, that is the real question, is why can't these folks get these types of issues resolved? And why do they have to play it out in the political spectrum here and on the city stage?
Got about 20 seconds.
When I served with Sylvester Turner in the Texas legislature, this was not a side that he showed people. Could he get angry? Could he be incredibly partisan? Yes, but behind closed doors, this isn't the kind of person that he was. And it's just really sad to see how out of control he is right now and how angry he is right now towards our firefighters. These are the guys that run towards danger. And he said he would not do this. And now you're doing it, Sylvester Turner. You should be ashamed of yourself.
We're going to leave it there. Of course, we want to invite the mayor on to tell his side of the story, obviously. Still ahead, our panel answers the question, what did we miss? So stay with us.